Now, to begin debating the subject here, we're joined by Yehuda Schaefer, former Deputy State Attorney for Israel's Ministry of Justice, and Eli Chazan, Foreign Affairs Director, International Ambassador for the Likud Party, is joining us from Jerusalem. So, Eli on the screen here. Yehuda, thanks for being with us, both of you. Eli, I want to throw the first question to you here, and I want to get this right. I mean, look, what the changes that Levine has set out here would essentially, severely limit the authority of the High Court right now, or at least change the way, give the government some control over this. If like Levine argues that this current system is, he put it, quote, makes it impossible for governments to rule effectively, close quote, then why is this being driven only by the Likud party, with its allies now in this new coalition? Why isn't this a wider sort of so-called bipartisan issue?
First of all, don't forget, there are MKs and there are politicians, or at least former politicians from the left wing as well, who supported not all the changes that they want to bring, but most of the changes. For instance, Daniel Friedman, former Minister of Justice from the left wing. For instance, Chaim Ramon, Deputy Prime Minister from the past from the left wing. We are facing abnormal situation in the last 27 years when the Supreme Court has taken too much power and has become not only the judicial, as it should be, but the legislative and the executive. I mean, it has become the indirect government and indirect Knesset. And what we're trying to do is to bring normality, to bring democracy back to the state of Israel. I know there is a lot of objection from the left wing, because this is the only way that he can challenge the election and he can challenge the decision of the Israeli public.
Thanks, Ali. For this beginning, we have a break in 2 minutes, so I want to get some thoughts from both of you here, and we'll continue this debate after the break. Yehuda, I'm going to, unless you have a direct response here, I would
like to respond.
Yes, go ahead.
So I think nobody can be against reform in the judiciary and things that need to be more efficient, but this is not it seems to me like this. There's a few problems here. First of all, this reform is not to improve, but as was said just now and by the minister himself, it's to weaken the judiciary. And in Israel, because we have so few, we're the only democracy with almost no checks and balances. We're a parliamentary system where the government almost controls the parliament. We don't have a constitution. We don't have two houses in parliament. We don't have ethical rules for elected people. So many lacks of checks and balances. The court has stepped in and maybe needs to be balanced a little bit, but what I would expect, if this was genuine, I would expect to reach out and try, and I think there is a majority in the Knesset. We can reach 80, 90 members of Knesset.
Including the opposition?
Including the opposition, with a slightly moderate here, moderate there. Just like the basic laws, when they were enacted, both of them, were after a long deliberation and agreement as wide as possible between the parties. That would be the correct way to move here.
For public
reform, but very bipartisan and very balanced and to the target that we're trying to reach here. Not just weakening the judiciary, because we don't have other checks and balances in our system. We're very different than other democracies.
I know there's a lot more to say on this, Eli, as well. Yehuda, thanks for being with us.
Of course, I want to respond.
Coming back in a short 2-minute break here. We have live TV. Nothing I can do about that. We'll be back in 2 minutes, and we'll definitely get responses from you, Eli, and continue the discussion. Stay with us. We'll be right back on Zoom In. Thanks for staying with us. We continue our debate around the proposed judicial reforms in Israel. They're going deep and they're wide-ranging at this point, so worth discussing. And I want to reintroduce our guests briefly. Coming back, it's Yehuda Schaefer, a former Deputy State Attorney for Israel's Justice Ministry, and Eli Chazan is International Ambassador, Director of Foreign Affairs for the Likud Party. Eli, coming back to you out of the break here now. I know you had some responses here, but I think one of the main proposed changes here is giving the ruling party, some sway or control over judicial appointments. Is this an improvement for Israel?
First of all, I want to refer to what Mr. Schaefer has said. We don't want to weaken the system. The opposite is true.
The minister said he wants to weaken. Those were his words.
No, but he said as well that he wants to bring back balance, and he wants to improve the situation of the Supreme Court, and he wants to bring back the trust of the people. As you know, now the distrust of the Israeli public is in the highest peak ever, and he wants to bring it back. This is one thing. Now, regarding the system, it's very simple. If you claim that Israel will not be a democracy anymore, I just watched lately the IDI website, and I saw that in Australia, in Ireland, in United States, in the Netherlands, in Japan, in Sweden, in Switzerland, all those places, it's the decision of electing the judges is not exclusively by the judges themselves. Now, we want to fix the system because, as Mr. Schaefer himself already admitted, the situation right now needs to be improved urgently. Now, we are asking how we are going to do it. Right now, as I said, there is no other democracy in the world that has something similar to the unlimited power of the Supreme Court in Israel, and we want to bring it back to normality, to the checks and balances.
You're going to get in on this. Respond,
to the balance
please.
between
Yes.
to the balance between the authorities.
Excellent
That's
point,
the whole
Ali.
story.
So I said nothing near to this is the end of democracy, or I'm not a part of this whole
But a lot of people are.
political
The
complaint.
opposition is saying this. A lot of people
I'm not opposition. I'm not political. I'm just commenting on how this should be more balanced and more bipartisan. If we speak about trust, it's true that the trust in the court has gone down, as in all. The public trust in everything has gone down, even in the Ministry of Health, even in government. The only institutions that are less trusted than the court are the politicians. So if we're going to, according to all polls and everything, and all research done, so letting more influence of politicians on the election of judges in the Israeli context is not going to help. We know Israel's most like UK. We're very much like the UK system with no constitution. UK in the last few years has gone through a reform in going back to professional appointments of Supreme Court judges and not political. There's a reason for this, because of the lack of checks and balances of the Constitution. I would strongly recommend to reconsider this recommendation. Again, I don't think it's the end of democracy, but I think it will weaken the court. I think it will weaken the public belief in the public trust in the court. The more political it is, as happened actually in the U.S. U.S. used to have an amazing belief and trust in the Supreme Court in the U.S., which has now just become a political party in the view of most people, right or left.
Mr. Schaefer, you mentioned the UK. It's quite interesting because in the UK, the legal advisor is appointed by the government, by the Prime Minister himself. It's more than that.
The legal advisor. I can agree to that. I can agree to a change in the judgment. I was commenting on the appointment of judges. Yeah.
Mr. Schaefer, there are more things to say about it. Why there is objection from the Israeli right wing against the Supreme Court in Israel? Because we say there are too many interventions, unfair interventions, and against democracy in the state of Israel. What does it mean? That the people of the state of Israel...
Maybe you can give an example.
Yeah, for instance, could you tell me what is the business of the Israeli Supreme Court and bringing back bodies of terrorists to Hamas?
Okay,
how come they can you show me, by the way, this is another question. Can you show me any other place in the world that the Supreme Court is intervening almost in every field and the Knesset is
You give an example, excellent examples. Let me answer you. In my world, if this is something that really, in a true democracy, if this ruling on the bodies is something that the majority disagrees with, a law can be passed regarding bodies, and the court will, of course, obey it. I think that as long as the parliament did not enact such a rule, by the way, I would be on your side in this type of law. I think
point of agreement. Yeah, okay.
If there is point of agreement here, but I think that it's in many cases the court went into places where the parliament refrained from action for no reason. Just going back to the interference of the court in military issues and etc. in the West Bank, that of course is disturbing. And again, I invite the Knesset to limit that. I'm not against that necessarily, but we have to also remember that the court judicial review of military action in the West Bank and Gaza or outside Gaza is a very good shield for our soldiers before the International Criminal Court. And because of the rule of complementary rule, which says that if there's a domestic tribunal that will deal with these issues, that might be a good shield for international. I think it's worthwhile. It's not 100%. It's not 100%.
Exactly.
But it's something worthwhile pursuing as a lieutenant colonel in the IDF. I really think it's important to defend our soldiers. And I think
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's not the only case study. It's not the only case study. Let's take, for instance, to what we call the infiltrators and what you call illegal immigrants. The intervention of the Supreme Court in the Knesset process was unacceptable about. There is no any other.
Here again, I can agree with
There
you.
is no other.
I would call you and my friends from both bipartisan to enact an immigration basic law, and even maybe even have an overriding clause for the Supreme Court only for immigration. I think the rights of immigrants or illegal immigrants should not be. But you see, the problem is that this needs fine tuning, because there's one bad ruling regarding infiltrators should not mean that we're limiting all the rights of civilians in Israel. So maybe there should be a different law for infiltrators, and maybe the overriding clause should be only with regard to non-citizens. There could be many ideas here to think about, but this needs real debate in the parliament, bipartisan. But sorry. No, he said that.
That's what missing from this process, though.
What the minister said.
That's exactly what Mr. Levin, what the Minister of Justice said.
I liked that when he said that, but I was disappointed.
Of course.
I was disappointed because he already gave the final result as well. If he would have said, we're going to debate these 4 topics in parliament, and that would have sounded much better to me. The fact that he targeted where exactly he wants to end, 61,
we could carry on with this all day. I appreciate both of you joining the program.